When the Cold War ended, Mike Parrish picked up a hot bargain. A top-secret nuclear bunker built by the government under his family's farmland.
So would we be safe once we got to this part?
Well, yes, safer than being outside, obviously, because you've got the blast door to go through to start with.
Now a tourist attraction, it's taken on a new relevance amid warnings of future war.
The United Kingdom was heavily attacked with nuclear weapons at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
This is where the Prime Minister of the day might have come in the event of a nuclear strike. The underground safe house in Essex was one of a network of bunkers tasked with keeping government services running to help survivors.
The scale of this bunker underlines how seriously governments during the Cold War took the threat of nuclear attack and global conflict. Thankfully, these defences were never actually needed, but at least they had a plan that was resourced and regularly rehearsed.
In the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Britain's Defence Secretary has warned we're moving to a pre-war world. Yet sources have told Sky News there is no national plan for the defence of the UK or the mobilisation of its people in a full-scale conflict. It's a weakness this former commander raised internally more than a decade ago.
The implications of thinking about the revitalisation of a risk from Russia were unpalatable and expensive, and denial, frankly, was cheaper.
Tucked away in the National Archives are some of the UK's old defence plans. Called the Government War Book, they detailed how this country would transition from peace to war in line with a set of alerts for the whole of NATO. Versions have existed since around the end of the First World War, with instructions for everything from calling out the reserves to rescuing national treasures. But this level of planning is expensive, and it was quietly phased out after the Soviet Union collapsed.
Of course, the UK has a range of strategies and frameworks to build resilience and counter threats. But sources tell me it's woefully inadequate compared to the Cold War way of thinking, and they say much more must be done.
While the UK relies on its nuclear weapons and NATO membership to deter threats, officials are understood to be developing a cross-government national defence plan, even drawing on lessons from the War Book.
Some of that kind of thinking, the thinking that takes you from we don't need to worry about any of that to actually, if we did want to worry about that, how might we do it? I think that's really important.
And it's not just thinking about the military, industry and the public have crucial roles as well. Now a car plant, this site in Birmingham was transformed from farmland into a Spitfire factory before the Second World War as part of a so-called shadow scheme to grow aircraft production. Facilities also sprang up in the most unlikely of places, including a cowshed in Shropshire.
Shadow factories like this one played a key role in the war, enabling the country to make the weapons it needed to win. It's a legacy of innovation that sources say leaders today should draw on as they look to deter the current threats.
Asked about the allegation that there's no plan for war, a Cabinet Office spokesperson said, "The UK has robust plans in place for a range of potential emergencies and scenarios, with plans and supporting arrangements developed, refined and tested over many years." Practical steps taken to enhance the nation's resilience include the introduction of the Emergency Alert System and other measures, including the UK Government Resilience Framework, the publication of the National Risk Register, and strengthening our work with local partners and frontline authorities. But critics aren't convinced, such as here in Southampton, the home of the Spitfire.
Well, we had a bomb in the garden. We were in the shelter, but my father was outside.
Vera Saxby lived through the Second World War. She volunteered to work for a company that made Spitfire parts. Now, in her 100th year, she's no longer impressed with the UK's resilience.
It's very difficult. I can't see how we would defend ourselves. But don't tell Putin that.
The end of the tunnel, which is...
Britain's hollowed-out defences are no secret to anyone as global threats grow.
Do you think this bunker might have to come back to life again?
It would obviously be something one would contemplate. I don't suppose that the government would now take this back. But until government do that, of course, it's mine. And so I've got the keys and I'll be down here.
National preparations for war, perhaps no longer a practice of the past. Deborah Haynes, Sky News.